This week on American Land Seller, we dive into the extraordinary career of Gary Hubbell with United Country Real Estate, Colorado brokers and auctioneers. Gary is a Colorado rancher, multi-state real estate broker, and auctioneer with a wealth of experience that spans the vast landscapes of the American West. Gary's journey began in 2007 when he earned his real estate broker and auctioneer licenses in Colorado and Utah. Since then, he showcased his experience in brokering properties ranging from luxury homes in Aspen to expansive ranches in Telluride, with over $14 million in auction sales within just the last 4 years. Gary's track record speaks volumes, including the auction of a world record elk antlers. But Gary's talents extend beyond the real estate world. As a professional property appraiser and expert witness, he brings a unique skill set to the table, having appraised estates and various assets, including cars, guns, and even drilling equipment. Gary is also dedicated to education, which is evident in his curriculum for Future Farmers of America high school students, emphasizing the importance of land, water rights, and mineral rights. He has also worked on numerous educational projects with the Realtors Land Institute. A true outdoorsman, Gary's experiences as a wilderness outfitter, big game hunting guide, and fly fishing guide provide a special perspective on buying and selling hunting and fishing properties. His deep background in ranch real estate is underscored by his prestigious designation as an accredited land consultant with the Realtors Land Institute, a testament to his experience in vineyards, wineries, rural businesses, and even more. Gary's award-winning marketing prowess shines through in his photography, drone videos, and custom mapping, earning him recognition as the top marketing office in the entire United Country franchise in 2022. His writing talents, showcased in publications like Land Magazine and Terra Firma, further enhance his ability to describe unique properties for sellers. Beyond his professional achievements, Gary leads a balanced life on an 118-acre ranch near Crawford, Colorado, with his wife, Doris. Fluent in German and with a passion for upland bird hunting, skiing, and fly fishing, Gary embodies the essence of the true outdoors enthusiast. Join us as we explore the multifaceted world of Gary Hubbell, accredited land consultant, land broker, auctioneer, public speaker, media personality, and dedicated family man.
Welcome to the American Land Seller Podcast with your host, Kobe Rickertson. Kobe is an accredited land consultant and multi-state land broker with American Legacy Land Company. Join us each week as we explore all things land. We bring you fresh insights and expert guests on sales, marketing, regulations, economics, and so much more. Visit www.americanlandseller.com and find us on one of your favorite podcast platforms.
Okay, Kobe and our special guests, let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Land Seller Podcast. We are joined today by Gary Hubbell with United Country Colorado brokers and auctioneers. And what are you exactly at, Gary? You're kind of western Colorado, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in a little town that is midway. It's Hotchkiss, Colorado is where my office is. My ranch is in Crawford, Colorado, which is right up against the West Elk Mountain Range. And in fact, I had 60 head of elk on my ranch last night, and they're eating me out of house and home. And it's really midway between Aspen, Telluride, and Crested Butte. So kind of in the southwest quadrant of the state, but about, maybe an hour and a half southeast of Grand Junction.
Yeah, and you work both Colorado and Utah, correct? Is there any other states that you have?
You know, one of my agents is licensed in Wyoming as well, and I'm thinking about getting my broker license in Wyoming. I think I'll keep it at that. We have enough colleagues across the country, as I'm sure you do too, Kobe, where you know somebody in basically every state, Washington State or Oregon or wherever, where I can find somebody to work with if we have a project coming up. But yes, Utah and Colorado, and then thinking of adding on Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming's a good. I did get my license in Wyoming. I'm just in a little bit of a different situation right now because our company in its infancy, as we have agents that are interested in joining us, we just kind of go get the license in that state. And so we've been doing that. But yeah, definitely I do a lot of referring out to our RLI colleagues out there. And so, so you've got a fun history. Like a lot of us, you did not come out of your mom's womb, die hard on real estate right away. You had some other plans. And so, if I remember it, I think you had like 20 some years of experience as an outfitter, and maybe did a few other things. So you want to talk just a little bit about, life before real estate and how that kind of translated into getting into the world of land brokering.
Well, it was an interesting transition. My first job out of college in 1985 was guiding elk hunting up in Marble, Colorado, which is a little town, kind of a dead end road between Aspen and Crested Butte. And I grew up in Carbondale, and a lot of the larger, more well-known real estate brokers in that valley, and we're only 30 miles from Aspen, and I always joke that if you were going to shake hands with some of those Aspen realtors, you may not get all your fingers back, and I just didn't like them. I didn't like him, and I didn't trust him, and I thought I do not want to join that crowd. And then I guided and outfitted for 22 years all told, from basically 1985 through 2007. And I guided fly fishing on the Roaring Fork River and the Frying Pan River and the Colorado and the Crystal. And then we did wilderness elk hunts and trophy mule deer hunts. And I even did guided for blue grouse and pheasants and ducks and geese as well. So, I mean, pretty well rounded in the guiding. And then we sold the outfitting business. We took over a business in Marble in, I think, 1999. Built it up and did very well with it, and it was a successful venture. But we needed to take our kids to high school, and that town was 30 miles of bad road to the nearest high school. So we decided to sell and move to where we had bought a horse ranch, a place to winter our horses in Crawford, a really good high school in Hotchkiss, and then that's where I ended up. And so there I was in 2007, June of 2007. And I'm going, okay, now what? And somebody said, well, why not ranch real estate if you don't like to do regular real estate? I went, oh, ranch, people do that? Yeah, they do. Go talk to the guys over there with the cowboy hats. And actually, that was one of my first meetings was with Michael Landreth and Steve Fleming from RLI, and they're both strong in the Colorado chapter. And Michael Landreth is a past national president of RLI. Sure. And got to know those guys, and they kind of guided me in, and it's been a great career ever since. And honestly, Kobe, since then, I've regretted it many times that I didn't get involved sooner with real estate, because I just love our career so much, and the people in the ranch brokerage community are very solid. I mean, I count some of my very best friends, including you. I got to know you at the National Land Conference, and I support you in your career. We've talked, mm-hmm. and we're that you can count on me, and I know that I can count on you, and that way I've got an ally in your part of Nebraska. So it has dispelled all the negative thoughts and experiences that I had with real estate brokers growing up. But the Aspen area, I mean, they were tough, man. That was a pretty that's a crowd that I didn't want to be a part of. Let's just put it that way. So, but I was also I worked as a freelance photographer and a writer. I've written for I guess you could say hundreds of newspapers and magazines and been published, and then I kind of had a segue in my career where, as we were outfitting, and I would get calls from people. One of the biggest photo shoots I ever did was for Remington Firearms, and they ended up coming up to Marble and spending 5 days with us and shot all their catalog material. And I thought, well, geez, I know how to do photography, and I know how to put things together, and with all the resources we had, with guides and wranglers and horses and dogs and rivers and mountains and all that. And so over time, we've done production work for Coors and Marlboro and Sig Sauer, Victoria's Secret, Izod, Under Armour, Weaver Rifle Scopes, Bushnell,
Wow.
people like that. So it's been a fun career. We've had a good time with it.
Yeah. No, and that, like I said, I knew you had done quite a bit in your short life, but I guess I didn't know some of that stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah, and then we do in another venture we started back in 1999. At the same year we started the outfitting business, my wife and I started a publishing company and published some books on fly fishing and on Labrador retrievers and so forth. So, yeah, it's we've had some interesting phases there, I guess you could say.
yeah, that's for sure. So let's just talk about, I know like now you have a huge passion for like selling rural commercial properties. And I think that kind of stemmed
Yeah.
from like your realization that when you went to sell your outfitting business, there really wasn't a whole lot of quality help out there, if I'm wrong. And so,
No.
if you want just, I know like in the next segment, I want to dig a little bit deeper into that, but if you want to just kind of talk about like your outfitting business, how you got that off the ground and built it, and then kind of the steps you took to sell that when you were ready to do something else.
Well, you're right. We didn't have quality representation, and I was looking for it. I really was when I was a seller, and I was not a real estate agent at that time. And had a couple people try it, and they didn't get the job done. And ultimately, I sold it myself. And then right after that, I got licensed, and I was like, well, okay, there's one thing I know how to sell. And having been in the industry for that many years, and having that experience that I have had, when a guy tells me he's got a Forest Service permit with 700 user days and 6 different camp locations, I know exactly what he's talking about. I know how many horses it's going to take to serve that, what kind of base area he's going to need. I know the whole business, So ultimately, over time, I became known for that. And at this point, we've sold 23 outfitting businesses, and some of them were really significant. We've got 3 others listed right now. I don't think there's anybody in the whole, even in the United States, that's had that kind of track record. But then we parlayed that into, and my son Jake,
Yep.
Kobe, probably, right? And Jake has come on so strong as a young agent, broker, one of the youngest ALCs ever in the state of Colorado, and so forth. And so we got a call to list a winery in Olathe, Colorado, and it was kind of a big deal, and it had been on the market with another broker for 4.5 years, and that guy couldn't get it dragged across the finish line, and so we sold it in 6 months, and right after, and this was at 3.8 million, and right after 1 hour after that, our seller signed the contract, I told him I have another offer coming in. And that offer, the one that he signed, was $100,000 less than full price. And an hour later, we got the other offer in for full price, but he'd already signed the first one. So not only did we do it once, but we did it twice. But basically, I guess the point is that experience with selling all the outfitting businesses and all the the Forest Service permits and the outfitting licenses and the animals and the tack and all that and the real estate involved, it's not a hard segue to go to wineries and vineyards. And because then you've got Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and you've got liquor licenses, and you've got a manufacturing facility combined with an agricultural component and all that. So it's kind of a complicated deal. But at this point right now, we've sold 5 wineries in Colorado, which no other brokerage team has done that either. So that kind of has put us in this position of understanding rural real estate with a business component involved. And then that's why we were asked to give a breakout session at the National Land Conference and teach about that. And then we gave that breakout session, and apparently it was the most popular session at NLC. And then the Colorado chapter asked me to expand that into curriculum and teach a 4-hour continuing education class about it, and so we did that this last September. But so I like the numbers. I like the commercial aspect of things. I like helping people make their businesses. I like helping people move on and do the next thing in their lives. And so that really has kind of become a nice niche for us.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite classes that I took last year at the land conference. So appreciated you and Jake doing that for us. Let's just take a quick break here. Gary, if you got some time, we'll just take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by LandHub.com. Join us today and experience the expertise of LandHub's land marketing professionals. Whether you're buying or selling, let us show you the way in the ever-evolving world of land transactions. Visit LandHub.com and discover what the future of land marketing looks like. LandHub.com, where your land journey begins. All right, Gary. So we got into it towards the end of the first session. We were talking a little bit about your experience that you've kind of created this niche for yourself in the land world on commercial like businesses, not just the commercial property, but taking the entire business, what that value is, assessing a value on it, and hardcore marketing that towards buyers that would be something that we can, put the deal together with the complete package. And so I think it's interesting, like you were talking about vineyards and wineries, but there's more than just that you guys have kind of started, I don't know how to put it, but like putting that marketing package together for those. Talk just a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Well, the interesting thing about selling a business, and there is a guy in United Country named Jeremiah Townsend who is that is his only business, is selling businesses. And I've learned a lot from Jeremiah, so I have to give that credit where credit is due. And then the other guy is in United Country as well, is Mike Krieg in Grand Junction. And Mike has sold all kinds of hotels and motels and things like that. But there's a point that needs to be made here. And if you have sellers out there, Kobe, or anybody listening to this, and they say, well, that sounds good. I'm ready to sell. I've got a butcher shop, I've got a slaughterhouse, or I've got a marina, I've got an RV park, et cetera, all these things. If you're getting ready to sell, about 2 years past, 2 years in the background, my advice to you is quit taking the cash and putting it in your pocket. You got to bank the cash. And the reason why is because these things are bought and sold on the basis of tax returns. And if you're not paying taxes on the proceeds, you're going to get hurt on the sale of the business, because people don't pay for shoulda, woulda, couldas. They pay for what is documented and in the tax return. Now you can show a P&L and you can say, well, actually what we do is this, and I had 10 hunters last year that, it was a $4,000 elk hunt and they paid me cash. So, there's 40 grand right there. Ooh, don't expect to get paid for that income if it's not documented. That's right. One of the major takeaways. And it needs to be done a year, at least a couple or 3 years in advance of selling the business. So you really got to think about this ahead of time. But the best time to sell a business is not when you're circling the landing, the airstrip, and you're going, okay, I'm about out of gas here. And these people say, well, we used to do this, but we don't do that anymore. But you could put it back into business and make money doing that. No. The best time to sell is when the income is at its absolute height. It's at its peak, not when you're coming in for a landing, right? Right. So my advice to those people is sell when you can sell, not when you have to sell. And it could be a cattle ranch, it could be a farm, it could be a vineyard, an orchard, whatever it is. But when you're at the top of your game and you're really making money, then that's the time to get serious about selling and think of your other ventures, and of course how to 1031 and all that. But there are multipliers, and Kobe, this is one thing that people can think about as well. And I'm an auctioneer, and I've done a lot of small farm auctions and stuff like that. And it's been many times I'm standing there, and there's a little flatbed trailer and a riding lawnmower and a set of rakes and shovels and a couple of weed whackers, and I tell the crowd, hey guys, there's a landscaping business right here, right now. If you want to buy it, put your hand in the air, But it's that easy to get into a landscaping business.
Sure.
A winery, on the other hand, or a vineyard, let's say an estate winery, where you're growing your own grapes and making your own wine, it's going to take 5 years before those vines are even productive enough to have a crop to where you can make a good vintage of wine. So the buy-in for all the grape presses and the vats and the bottling apparatus and the wine cellar, to store all the vats and everything. So your multiplier on as far as the income on a winery, let's say that you're making, say that it's just for easy numbers, that your cash, your cash income to the seller is $200,000 a year. Your multiplier might be a 5x. In other words, it might be $1 million business on that income, right? But on the landscaping business, it might be less than a 1x. It might be a 0.5x. In other words, you're making $200,000 a year net income with a landscaping business. Business is worth $100,000 because it's pretty easy to get in the landscaping business, right? So it depends on contracts. It depends on long-term relationships. If a guy's got the contract for the VA hospital and the cemetery next door and all that kind of stuff, it's a different deal than if you're just going around mowing, grandma's lawn. So these multipliers are different for all different businesses, whether it's an outfitting business or a tire shop or a towing business or a slaughterhouse or a marina or whatever. And one of the things that we talked about in our segment was really what is the ideal use for that particular property. Like, for example, in Almont, Colorado, there's the intersection or the confluence of the Taylor River and the East River, which makes the Gunnison River. And right there at that confluence is a big, a restaurant with a fly shop and a guide service and all that. That is ideally situated for that business, and it's always going to be that. You could buy it and scrape it and flatten it and build yourself a trophy home, and then somebody would want to come and scrape the trophy home and build that again because it's the ideal location for what that is. So, the real estate values combined with the purpose of what the business is, you may not actually get as much money for the improvements and everything as it would be for a residence, even, because sometimes you're just buying yourself a job, right? And having management in place is one of the most key aspects to having a successful business that will survive the closing and provide cash flow. If you can provide a business and a venture with a real estate to where the investor can come in and know that, yep, I got a great guy there, I pay him well, but we make a lot of money out of this, and I can check in once a month and maybe visit it 3 or 4 times a year, or even not even that, and it's cash flowing for me. That's a great investment for the investor out there that's looking for that kind of an opportunity. But if he's got to install management and train his own people, and if he's got to get dirty himself, you got a whole different class of buyers, and it's not as appealing to the marketplace.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. As we've talked earlier this year, my wife and I went through deciding, now was the time maybe to do something different with our business. And so that was the funny thing was, it's like, especially in real estate, I was the principal, so I was pretty much the value. So it's like, well, how long are you willing to, yeah. So how long are you, yeah. So how long are you staying with us? And Carrie and I were, we had 9 agents, but realistically they didn't care about the 9 agents because they could all leave, day after they bought the business. So, so yeah, it was.
And that, for example, attorneys' offices and real estate professionals, even dentists and so forth, those working professionals, those businesses actually have a lower value. Like, for example, a law office, those are largely based on personality. You get a senior partner that retires with all his knowledge and everything, and people are like, what do we do now? We have a water attorney that retired 4 or 5 years ago in this part of Colorado, and his business has gone through some changes since he retired, but I know it's not nearly as strong as it was, because how do you replace a guy with 40 years of water law, So it's hard.
Yeah.
But in the realm of real estate, and this is what Dan Duffy, our CEO of United Country, said, when you have that book of business to where you can show a buyer that this client here did 3 deals, 4 deals with me. They were all consequential deals, like $1.5 million, $6 million, $4 million, $10 million, whatever. And then you have several clients like that, to where that client has been with you for 3, 4, 5 deals down the road. Now you have something to sell.
Yeah. No, and and I got to say, like, when we were going through what we went through, we talked to several folks from United Country, and your whole entire corporate, your whole entire top to bottom, never met anybody that's not a top-notch person in there. So we did appreciate visiting with your guys. It just kind of ended up that the way we went was going to work better for us. But
and that being said, I really like how you've branded yourself, and I think you're on a great path, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to come up with here in the next, in fact, I saw your logo on the email that you sent me to log in on this podcast, and I was like, that's nice work. It's a nice company name. It's nicely branded, and you guys have done some nice things for yourself.
Yeah, no, so far so good, but it's still pretty new. So I think you probably started a new business before, so you know how frustrating it can be to have to work hard. You got to the point where I wasn't working too hard, Gary, and now I have to go back to thinking again. So, but anyway, well, let's take another break, and then we'll come back. And I do have a couple more things that I just want to visit about and pick your brain on. But while we got you, so if you don't mind, we'll do one more segment, and we'll let you go for the day.
Fair enough.
All right, we will be right back. The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by American Legacy Land Company. At American Legacy, our seasoned agents set us apart, providing unmatched service with a personal touch that goes beyond expectations. With a wealth of market knowledge and a diverse portfolio, including farms, ranches, development lands, and recreational properties, we forge lasting connections with clients through honesty, integrity, and transparency. Visit us at AmericanLegacyLandCo.com and find the land that defines your legacy. All right, we're back with Gary Hubbell with United Country Colorado Brokers and Auctioneers. And Gary, during the break, you and I were talking about like kind of the differences between what I see in Nebraska, Kansas, even South Dakota for recreational properties, and versus what you guys are dealing with in the mountains and stuff. Can you talk to us just a little bit about like when you're working with folks that are looking for hunting ground, or even like maybe a family cabin where they can do some hunting and different things in your part of the country? What are basically folks looking for? And like I'd kind of like to just go through kind of some of the differences between what I see and what you're working with out there, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, there's certainly some commonalities, and anytime you've got that idyllic scene of a stream, a cabin, a forested glade, pretty access, and being off by yourself and seeing some deer grazing in the meadow in the background and so forth, that's always appealing. The one thing about what you guys have going versus what we have going is that a lot of it is inaccessible over the winter. I mean, one of my agents just showed a property with in Placerville, Colorado. It's actually off of Last Dollar Road between Ridgeway and Telluride. and it's at 9,500 feet, and there's already about 3 feet of snow on the ground. And so the only way to get in there is with a tracked UTV, like a Polaris Ranger with tracks on it, or a snowcat, or maybe a snowmobile. But that's how she showed it a couple days ago, and we've got a nice it's full price offer at $1,650,000. So that's the kind of real estate that we end up with, and that's on 6 acres. It's a really darn nice home, but the idea of selling something off grid like that at that kind of dollar, and literally people kind of fighting over it is amazing. But the average home price in Aspen last year was 14.6 million, believe it or not.
Wow.
And Carbondale, which is a bedroom community of Aspen on the road, I think it was $1,004,000 or $1,041,000. Anyway, it was over $1 million in for residential in Carbondale, Colorado. So we do have some wide ranges in property values. A lot of it depending on where it is, and cattle ranches as far as a per unit. And Kobe, what do you think you need to buy if somebody's buying a cattle outfit there in western Nebraska? What are they looking at? 8 to 10,000 an animal unit, something like that. As far as you got a 400 head operation, it's 3.2 million. Are we looking in those numbers?
Yeah, you're not too far off. I mean, it just depends on what part of the sand you're in. Like we have pretty sandy territory where we're at, so the grass isn't
right.
But you're probably if you're my area, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 animals an acre, or acres per animal. I mean, whereas you move more north into the sand hills, you're looking at closer to 10 to 12 acres per animal. So,
sure.
So
what we're finding is that and to be economically viable, you need to be in that $8,000 to $10,000 an animal unit to be able to pay your bills and actually squeak out a profit raising a cow. Right? There are no $8,000 to $10,000 per animal unit ranches in Colorado, except maybe out on the southeast plains down around La Junta and Lamar, where you've got that short grass prairie that's pretty, to be honest with you, kind of miserable country sometimes. Gets over 110 degrees in the summer. It's flat, it's dry, it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. And people aren't moving to Colorado for that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that high mountain, that idyllic high mountain cattle ranch with a stream flowing through it that you can go fly fish and you can walk out the back door and go hunt elk and all that kind of thing, that's more like it's not trading on animal units. It's trading on how close it is to a ski area. I call it the mocha latte distance. How far mama drives to go get her nails done and get a good mocha latte in town, right? And if it's over 30 minutes, then the price goes way down. So if the mocha latte distance is 45 minutes or an hour, the land is not worth. It's probably depreciated probably another 30 or 40%,
right,
just because of accessibility and all that. But we do get, like we have. There are some high dollar places in Colorado where people are buying this land because they want it, not because they have to have it. It's a desire. It's a discretionary purpose, but it also has to do, Kobe, with a legacy.
Sure.
People want to leave that legacy for their family. They want to be John Dutton in Yellowstone. They want to have some version of that, without hopefully all the drama and the mayhem, and the chaos. Taylor Sheridan did it as the intellectual property of Yellowstone made Taylor Sheridan a lot of money with that regard. But people want that that kind of land, that kind of an estate. And so we end up helping some people find those.
Yeah. Speaking of Taylor, though, I think he took most of his money and went and bought a ranch in Texas. So I question his
4-6.
Yeah, I question
Don
his
Bell.
good sense. That's for sure.
Don Bell helped broker that. He's a UC agent down in Texas. Real nice guy too. So he gets it done down there.
Yeah.
But yes. So our values are different than your cropland, or even whether it's dryland or irrigated that you have in Nebraska. But as well as I do that that, or much better than I do, that good frontage on the North Platte for waterfowl hunting is going to bring a premium too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna if you get in the river, some accretion ground and stuff like that, you're gonna have you're gonna get a lot better for that kind of land than if you just straight pasture. Probably, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's that much better than irrigated farm ground's pretty pricey here too, but yeah, there's some hunting ground and we've had quite a bit of like Ducks Unlimited properties and things like that they come in
Oh,
and they do
nice.
some development and so we've got several of those that I've seen kind of come through for sale lately. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I kind of agree with you on the. I think it's funny. I do have to question. Do you feel like the Mocha Latte range? Like have you seen ever since we went through the COVID thing? Did you see any kind of changes on maybe people wanted to be further away and they're just ordering their Mocha Latte in a powder and mixing it themselves through Amazon?
There's push and pull between the wife and the husband, and he's up there and he's got his chainsaw and he's cutting firewood and making these projects and rebuilding an old 51 Willys Jeep or something like that, and just happy as a pig and schmuck. But and she's always wanting to go to town and go to the art galleries and go to the yoga or whatever, and so there's always that that tension in between the two parties, and it's hard to find that perfect property that offers both. It
Yeah.
really is. That solitude, peace, and quiet, but yet that easy access to town, and still have the recreational aspects and the lifestyle to it. And they're out there. We sold one right outside of Paonia, Colorado this last summer, and it was 390 acres with a real nice log home on it. Not overly done, about 2,200 square feet. But I think, what did we get for that? 2.6 million. Had about, well, I don't know, 50 or 60 irrigated acres, but it had pretty good deer hunting on it. But it was 11 minutes from the front door down to Mocha Latte.
Well, that's a hike.
So not bad at
No,
all,
that's not too
you
bad.
know.
No, but now when you're talking about your recreational stuff out there, a lot of times you're dealing with things that are like off the grid, right? So there's
Well, and I was going to comment on that. That's an interesting point you bring up, because now with Starlink, with Elon Musk's internet platform, the satellite internet, you can get 175 meg upload and download. And so, you know, given the excellent internet and solar systems, to me, it's not much of an issue anymore. Where, as long as people have good cell phone and good internet, and they've got electric power, people are pretty happy.
yeah, but I still think like there's places out there that don't even have electricity other than solar or generators or
Doesn't matter at this point. I mean, where was I? Which property was I on? I can't remember. Somebody told me let's see. Oh, I wasn't on it yet. A guy was telling me about it, but they spent they spent 130,000, I think, on their solar system. It should have been 60, but with a 40 or $50,000 solar system, you can live life. I mean, you're not going to turn on um, an electric heater and heat the downstairs all night. That's going to drain it down real fast. But and you can't run. Sometimes you can't run the hair dryer and the clothes dryer at the same time. But really and truly, the off-grid systems are very good, and you can live on them and be very happy with them.
oh, that's pretty neat. So, well, what before we wrap up here, Gary, what's the big properties we're working on out there in Colorado? Do you have anything people might be
Um,
interested in coming to get a hold of you and coming to check out?
yeah, we're trying to get some new listings in the door. My son Jake and my broker associate Lauren Williams. I don't know if you probably met
I
Lauren at the
don't.
National Land Conference. You can't
Valerie,
miss
I
him. He's about
think.
six.
Was it Valerie?
Yeah, he's well. Yeah, Valerie was there
Yeah,
too.
that
But
you
yeah,
guys. I don't know if I met Lauren or not. He might be the one that stopped to see me on the way through. a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he probably
He's
was
out in
because he
Iowa.
picked up a bunch of
Yeah,
horses
yeah, yeah.
recently.
That
Yeah. Anyway, Lauren and Jake have the Porter Ranch right outside of Newcastle, Colorado, and that's a very interesting place because it was actually homesteaded by this same family, the Porter family, in 1880.
oh
They drove a herd of cattle all the way from Denver over the mountains in 1880 to found that ranch, and there was nothing there in 1880. I mean, nothing. So Teddy Roosevelt has hunted on that ranch. It was and Blake Shelton killed a real nice deer on it. I think it scored close to 220. Just a monster mule deer. Um, Excellent mule deer, excellent elk hunting, 3,526 acres, incredible water rights. They have 1,175 acre feet of water that they own in their own
well,
reservoir, 800 acres of irrigated hay fields, and we're priced at 15.9 million. And knock on wood, we should have a signed offer and may have it under contract by now today. It was supposed to be signed yesterday. Let's see. And then Lauren and I are working on a cattle ranch in Colburn, Colorado, the Rafter H Ranch, and we're kind of bringing that one over the finish line. And that one is has a 12,000 acre U.S. Forest Service grazing permit on the Grand Mesa, and then it has a 36,000 acre winter grazing permit on the BLM in the Utah desert, and then some, of course, base area and irrigated ground and all that. And so pretty complex because that one comes with men and cows and 2 grazing permits and like 10 or 12 parcels and all that. So and hopefully we'll have that one sold by about, closing date is supposed to be January 5th. We'll see. So, but right now, those are 2 really big, nice big deals. That one, Rafter H, I think the total price on that is about 6.9 million, I think. I hate to quote, it's north of 6, but I don't know the exact numbers because there's so much involved with that. Warren has been doing more on, but we're actually looking for new properties right now because we're selling out our inventory, and by the way, the buyer pool is really strong. And if there's anything I want to leave you with, Kobe, I was in conversation with one of the best ranch real estate appraisers in Western Colorado the other day, and he said he is booked up. He can't. He's got about a 2 or 3 month waiting list for all the appraisals on his desk, and they're all for purchases. So he said that it is a very strong time, and if people want to sell, there's a really strong market now. My crystal ball, is broken, but I think in particular, if we get this through this administration and into a sane administration in 2024 into 2025, then we're really going to see the rocket boosters come onto this ranch real estate economy, and we're going to see a lot of activity after this administration is over with.
yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. That I don't know. It is interesting though because everywhere you look as far as land, you got buyers that are looking for stuff. I mean, it's not like it's hard to sell things. We've had some pretty big farms in Nebraska that have struggled a little bit because you're talking $40 to $90 million irrigated farms.
That's a big
and you
deal.
have to have the right
Not
man.
everybody can buy
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and you have to, and if you're looking at investors, that's a lot for them to tear off too, because we have a lot of investors that'll take a run at it, but then it comes down to, well, what's management, and again, like we talked about before, if the principal is the one that's selling it because they're retiring or something, then we have to go find good management, and for something that big, it's pretty tough. So, but anyway, I appreciated you doing this today, Gary. Man, as always, I learn a ton anytime I interact with you. And what before we go, could you just let everybody know how they can get a hold of you? What's the best way to track you down?
We have 2 websites. One is aspenranchrealestate.com, aspenranchrealestate.com, and then the other one is uccoloradobrokers.com. UC is in United Country, coloradobrokers.com, and then just Google my name. By the way, you might come up with the term "angry white man" too. If you my name.
I'm gonna have.
That's a conversation over beer sometime.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be together here in a couple weeks here in March, so out in Louisville. So I'm definitely gonna ask about that when we get together. So
don't forget.
I will not forget. But anyway, well,
all right, Kobe.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for the opportunity to be on your podcast. I'll return the favor.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love to. So that's all we have for today. Thanks once again to Gary for having fun with me today and all the information that he gave me. And we will see you all down the road.
As we wrap up another episode of the American Land Seller Podcast, thank you for joining us. Visit www.americanlandseller.com and find us on one of your favorite podcast platforms. If you would be so kind and you enjoyed today's insights, please like, subscribe, rate, follow, and review us on whatever app you are listening or watching on. Connect with us on social media for updates. Until next week, Kobe wishes you success in your land endeavors. God bless you and have a great week.
The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by LandHub.com. At LandHub, we're revolutionizing land transactions by effectively connecting buyers and sellers. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding or marketing land for sale. We understand the power of new media marketing, leveraging social media, and targeted ads to bring together the ideal audience for all property types. LandHub.com, where your land journey begins. And American Legacy Land Company. At American Legacy, we redefine excellence in real estate. Explore our top quality offerings featuring farms, ranches, recreational properties, and even development projects spanning 10 Midwest states. Visit us at AmericanLegacyLandCo.com for a premium experience that aligns with your land ownership goals. Whether you're looking at buying or selling, we're dedicated to helping you find the land that defines your legacy.